Hello, my name is Melissa Bada, and this presentation explores a culturally adaptive performance management system designed specifically for Japanese AI engineering teams.
Welcome to my presentation on designing a performance management system specifically for Japanese AI engineering teams. In this session, I'll walk you through the cultural and organizational challenges that global companies face when managing performance across borders, especially in high-context collectivist cultures like Japan. We'll begin by exploring the key research question driving this project. Can a culturally aligned, tech enabled performance management system improve both engagement and productivity among Japanese AI professionals? To frame this investigation, I developed the following hypothesis: a performance management system that integrates cultural values, such as respect for hierarchy, indirect communication, and group harmony, while leveraging real-time digital tools for coaching and feedback, will result in higher levels of both individual and team performance. Throughout this presentation, I will guide you through 5 key areas: a deep dive into Japan's cultural dimensions using Hofstede's framework, a review of recent literature highlighting gaps in traditional performance systems when applied in East Asian settings, a conceptual design of a performance system tailored to Japanese AI teams, coaching and feedback strategies that are culturally respectful and effective, and finally, recommendations for applying this model in global tech environments. The goal is to provide a blueprint for a globally conscious, culturally intelligent PM system that not only measures performance, but also fosters trust, motivation, and long-term retention in a rapidly evolving tech sector. Several key studies have guided the development of my culturally responsive performance management system for AI engineering teams in Japan. These works highlight recurring themes around communication norms, cultural clashes with Western PM systems, and the positive effects of tailored coaching strategies. Kashima and Harada, 2021, emphasize that feedback in Japan is typically indirect and focused on preserving group harmony. Their research introduces the concept of structured harmony, where feedback is softened and often delivered in group settings to avoid embarrassment. This suggests that performance systems should rely on delayed or anonymous feedback rather than direct critique. Kimura and Fujimoto, 2022, explore how global performance systems often fail in Japan when not culturally adapted. Western-style metrics and frequent evaluations can clash with Japan's emphasis on loyalty and seniority. Their findings reinforce the need for localized systems that support harmony and gradual growth. Tsukamoto and Arai, 2024, provide evidence that developmental coaching significantly improves engagement when framed as mentorship and introduced gradually. Their work supports using structured coaching scripts that align with cultural expectations of hierarchy and psychological safety. Nishikawa and Kato, 2023, further support this approach by showing how digital, asynchronous feedback systems can maintain indirect communication while encouraging peer input. Finally, Aguinas, 2019, reminds us that clarity and consistency remain core to any performance system, but those principles must be applied with cultural intelligence to be truly effective. These studies collectively shape the foundation of my project. They highlight how to balance cultural expectations like indirect communication and hierarchical respect with modern AI teams' performance and engagement needs. These findings directly inform the system design recommendations I'll share later in this presentation. To understand how culture shapes performance management systems, we turn to Hofstede's Cultural Dimensions, a globally recognized framework for analyzing workplace behavior across cultures. These dimensions help explain how values, communication, and expectations differ between countries, and why a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work in performance management. In Japan, power distance is moderately high. Employees tend to defer to authority and expect top-down communication. Coaching, therefore, must be delivered respectfully and never in a way that challenges hierarchy. Japan is also highly collectivist, meaning team success outweighs individual recognition. Metrics focusing on team-based outcomes like OKRs are more culturally appropriate than rankings or individual comparisons. With a strong score in uncertainty avoidance, Japanese professionals prefer clear rules, stable processes, and consistency. Ambiguous goals or sudden changes can undermine trust and create stress, so systems must be structured and predictable. Japan's long-term orientation emphasizes patience and sustained effort. Employees value performance systems that support long-term career development over short-term wins or frequent evaluations. In terms of masculinity, Japan values achievement and excellence, but this is often expressed through quiet discipline rather than public self-promotion. Recognition should be modest and respectful of group dynamics. Lastly, Japan is a high-context communication culture. Feedback is often indirect, and much is conveyed through nuance. Systems that rely on blunt or overly direct feedback styles can feel disrespectful. Subtle delivery, careful tone, and timing are essential. Together, these dimensions provide a cultural lens that helps us understand how Japanese employees interpret performance systems. Ignoring these norms risks not just ineffectiveness, but real harm to morale, trust, and engagement. That's why the systems I'm proposing are built on cultural awareness first and performance metrics second. In examining Japan's cultural context, it is essential to highlight 4 actionable insights that should be embedded within any effective performance management system, particularly in the high-stakes collaborative environment of AI engineering. Developmental coaching is a cornerstone of performance growth, but must be adapted to Japan's hierarchical norms. Tsukamoto and Arai, 2024, found that when feedback is framed as mentorship and delivered with sensitivity, it fosters engagement and trust. Coaching should focus on potential rather than correction, using softer language and building relationships over time. Regarding goal setting, Kimura and Fujimoto, 2022, emphasize the effectiveness of team-based OKRs in Japan's collectivist work culture. Individual metrics can disrupt harmony, while shared objectives promote collaboration and align with how AI teams naturally operate through group effort. Japan's high uncertainty avoidance, as discussed by Aguinis, 2019, means that structure is essential. Employees expect clear timelines, consistent review processes, and defined expectations. Without them, trust erodes and performance may stall. Predictability builds stability in fast-paced technical environments. Recognition must also reflect cultural preferences. Nishikawa and Kato, 2023, explain that public praise can feel awkward in high-context cultures. Anonymous or team-based recognition is preferred, preserving modesty while still reinforcing contributions. Developmental coaching, team-based OKRs, structured review processes, and discrete recognition aren't just best practices in Japan, they're essential. These culturally aligned strategies foster engagement, reduce anxiety, and ensure performance conversations are received with trust. Together, they provide the foundation for a performance system that works with Japanese values, not against them. When evaluating culturally adaptive performance management systems, it is equally important to understand why Western models often fail within the Japanese workplace. Several core challenges have been consistently observed across global organizations operating in Japan, and their implications are both significant and instructive. One major issue is the misalignment with individual KPIs and 360-degree reviews. While these tools are standard in Western systems, they clash with Japan's collectivist values and respect for hierarchy. Highlighting individual performance, positive or negative, can feel isolating or even disrespectful. Likewise, asking employees to evaluate peers or supervisors undermines the cultural emphasis on group harmony and deference to authority. Another challenge lies in feedback delivery. Western models often favor frequent direct feedback. In Japan, where communication is high context and subtlety is key, such bluntness can seem aggressive or inappropriate. Poorly delivered feedback may lower morale or cause disengagement rather than improvement. Kimura and Fujimoto, 2022, highlight that these cultural mismatches often lead to failure when global companies deploy standardized systems without localization. Employees in Japan may feel misunderstood or undervalued, and performance may decline as a result. Even sophisticated global tools lose impact if they ignore local context. These challenges are exactly why cultural alignment isn't optional, it's foundational, and it's why my proposed performance system avoids these pitfalls by design. To address the cultural considerations previously discussed, the performance management system I've designed for Japanese AI engineering teams incorporates 4 core features, each aligned with local values while promoting accountability, engagement, and growth. One key feature is the use of structured coaching scripts. As Tsukamoto and Arai 2024 note, feedback in Japan is best received when framed as developmental guidance. These scripts help managers deliver feedback with respect, clarity, and cultural sensitivity, building trust while supporting ongoing growth. The system also uses team-based OKRs, objectives and key results. In Japan's collectivist culture, individual performance metrics can be divisive. Team-based OKRs foster collaboration and reinforce WOA or group harmony, an ideal fit for AI teams that rely on cross-functional teamwork. Long-term development plans are another vital element. These plans provide multi-year growth paths, mentorship opportunities, and transparent progression steps, matching Japan's cultural emphasis on loyalty, patience, and steady development. To promote feedback without discomfort, the system includes anonymous peer recognition tools. As Nishikawa and Kato, 2023, explain, public praise can feel awkward in high-context cultures. Anonymous feedback allows recognition to flourish while protecting modesty and group cohesion. Combined, these features create a performance system that is culturally intelligent, respectful, and performance-driven, supporting development without disrupting the values that matter most to Japanese professionals. To support a culturally aligned performance management system, technology plays a critical role, especially for AI teams that rely on structure, collaboration, and agile workflows. However, to be effective in Japan, these tools must be applied with cultural nuance. Platforms like Jira and GitHub, commonly used in development environments, can be repurposed to track progress and align tasks with team-based goals. The focus isn't on micromanagement, but on creating transparent, team-centered visibility without putting pressure on individual contributors. Real-time check-ins can also be integrated into these tools using structured templates. These forms help managers initiate performance conversations without requiring confrontation. A bi-weekly check-in might cover task updates, blockers, and learning goals, framed in language that supports trust and growth. Visual dashboards offer another layer of culturally appropriate performance tracking. Rather than highlighting individuals, these dashboards reflect team-level metrics like sprint velocity or OKR progress, reinforcing collectivism and group alignment. Lastly, asynchronous feedback tools help preserve harmony. Anonymous recognition boards or peer feedback forms allow team members to give input privately, reducing the discomfort often associated with direct praise or critique in high-context cultures. Together, these tools don't replace personal connection, they enhance it. By embedding cultural awareness into technology, organizations can build systems that support feedback, growth, and accountability in a way that resonates with Japanese AI professionals. A well-designed performance system isn't just about tools and timelines, it's about conversations. This system includes a coaching and feedback framework tailored to Japanese cultural norms, prioritizing trust, emotional awareness, and long-term development. One key element is manager training in emotional intelligence. In Japan's high-context hierarchical culture, tone and delivery are just as important as the message. Managers must be trained to read nonverbal cues, respond with empathy, and deliver feedback non-threateningly. Without this skill set, even well-meaning feedback can be harsh or disrespectful. Emotional intelligence is critical to maintaining psychological safety. This framework also emphasizes scheduled check-ins grounded in relationship building. In Japan, trust develops gradually, not through spontaneous updates, but through consistent, respectful dialogue. These check-ins give employees a sense of stability and provide space for development conversations without the pressure of surprise evaluations. Finally, feedback is most effective when it is developmental, not evaluative. Rather than pointing out faults, managers are encouraged to frame feedback as a collaborative opportunity for growth, such as, "Let's talk about how we can improve this together." This approach supports harmony, reduces defensiveness, and keeps employees engaged in continuous improvement. This coaching model helps managers guide performance while preserving morale and dignity. It reflects not just what to say, but how to say it in a way that aligns with Japanese values. In this system, feedback becomes a form of support, not criticism. To develop a culturally aligned performance management system for Japanese AI engineering teams, I applied a conceptual design methodology grounded in cross-cultural HR theory. At the core of this approach was Hofstede's cultural dimensions, which provided a structured lens through which I assessed key cultural variables, such as power distance, collectivism, uncertainty avoidance, and long-term orientation. These factors were essential to understanding how Japanese employees interpret feedback, performance goals, and coaching dynamics. The project began with a targeted literature review. I selected peer-reviewed research published between 2020 and 2024, focusing specifically on performance management in Japan, cultural communication styles, and HR best practices in high-context, hierarchical environments. Studies by Kimura and Fujimoto, 2022, Kashima and Harada, 2021, and Tsukamoto and Arai, 2024, were foundational, highlighting how Western PM systems frequently fail due to cultural misalignment and what successful adaptations look like. From there, I benchmarked global PM tools such as OKRs, coaching frameworks, and tech-enabled feedback platforms and filtered them through a Japanese cultural lens. I did not assume these tools could be transferred as is. Instead, I examined how they could be adjusted for context, tone, and communication style. This methodology is qualitative and context-driven by design. It does not rely on a statistical data set, but instead on deep cultural synthesis and evidence-based customization. The goal was to propose a model that balances academic rigor with practical, real-world applicability. That model is what you'll see come to life in the next phase of this presentation. After designing the culturally adapted performance system, I developed a 4-phase implementation roadmap to guide real-world execution. This roadmap is especially critical for tech startups in Japan, where rapid growth must still respect traditional norms. Phase 1 is manager training. This step focuses on preparing managers through emotional intelligence development, cultural sensitivity workshops, and coaching technique certification. The goal here is to ensure feedback is delivered in a culturally appropriate, psychologically safe way. Without this foundational step, even the best designed system could fail in execution. Phase 2 involves system configuration. This includes setting up team-based OKRs, creating structured coaching scripts, and integrating peer feedback tools within platforms like Jira or GitHub. At this stage, workflows and review templates are adapted for indirect communication and team-based accountability. Phase 3 is the pilot program. A select group of engineering teams will test the system in a low-risk environment. Their experiences will be closely monitored through engagement surveys, manager reflections, and anonymous feedback loops. This pilot helps refine the system and identify any unexpected barriers before scaling. Phase 4 is full rollout. With pilot insights incorporated, the system launches company-wide. Quarterly performance reviews are established, along with coaching check-ins and peer recognition cycles. The system remains flexible, with built-in opportunities for adjustment based on employee and manager input. This phased roadmap provides the structure and pacing necessary to ensure not just adoption, but trust and cultural fit. By moving carefully and listening to the organization throughout, the system evolves in a way that feels organic, not imposed. If implemented successfully, this performance management system is expected to generate several key outcomes, each of which addresses specific gaps identified in the literature. First, we anticipate higher levels of employee engagement and trust. By delivering feedback in a developmental, face-saving manner and aligning goals with team-based values, employees are more likely to feel seen, respected, and supported in their work. Second, this system is designed to foster increased collaboration and team performance. Team-based OKRs, collective recognition, and visual progress dashboards shift focus away from individual competition and toward group achievement, enhancing cohesion and accountability. Third, we expect to see a reduction in resistance to feedback. Feedback is often a pain point in Japanese organizations due to its potential to disrupt harmony. But when feedback is anonymized, embedded in coaching conversations, and delivered using culturally appropriate language, it becomes a welcome tool for development rather than a source of anxiety. Lastly, one of the most strategic outcomes is enhanced retention of AI engineering talent. In fast-growing tech environments where burnout and disengagement are common, employees are more likely to stay when they feel supported, understood, and valued, not just for output, but for long-term growth. Each of these outcomes reflects a shift from rigid, Western-influenced performance practices toward a more culturally intelligent and sustainable approach, one that supports both business results and human connection. While this proposed system is grounded in current research and culturally informed design, it's important to acknowledge its limitations to maintain academic integrity and transparency. First, this model involves cultural generalizations based on national level data. While Hosted's framework is a strong guide, it doesn't account for individual variation, especially generational differences or exposure to Western business culture. For example, younger professionals or returnees from international experiences may be more receptive to direct feedback than their older peers. Second, the system is primarily designed for tech startups and agile engineering teams. While some elements may be transferable, the model may not fully apply to traditional Japanese firms, which often have more rigid hierarchies, slower decision-making, and less digital integration. Customization would be needed for those environments. Third, feedback norms are evolving. Japan is seeing gradual cultural shifts as younger generations enter the workforce with different expectations around communication, growth, and transparency. What works well now may require adaptation in the next 5 to 10 years. Ongoing research and reassessment will be crucial. Finally, this is a conceptual model, not yet field tested. While it is informed by credible academic research and cultural theory, its practical effectiveness still depends on thoughtful execution, leadership buy-in, and continuous refinement. To ensure long-term success and adaptability of the proposed system, I've outlined several key recommendations for organizations looking to implement or scale performance management systems in Japan. First, train HR teams and managers in cultural intelligence. Understanding not just the what, but the why behind cultural behaviors enables more empathetic and effective leadership. Cultural missteps in coaching or feedback delivery can erode trust quickly. This training helps prevent that. Second, use hybrid PM systems that blend both team-based and individual metrics. While collectivism is strong in Japan, some roles, especially in AI, require individual accountability and recognition. A hybrid approach allows for cultural sensitivity without losing performance rigor. Third, embed Hofstede's cultural insights and other intercultural frameworks into your broader global HR strategy, not just for Japan, but for all international markets. Culture-specific design should be the standard, not the exception. Fourth, conduct cultural audits and feedback surveys annually. Don't assume the system will always fit. Actively ask employees whether it's working, what feels uncomfortable, and what might need to evolve. This keeps your system responsive and inclusive. Ultimately, these recommendations position HR not just as a compliance function, but as a strategic partner, one that drives engagement, retention, and performance through thoughtful system design. This project set out to test the hypothesis that a culturally adaptive, tech-enabled performance management system can improve outcomes in Japanese AI engineering teams, and the evidence strongly supports that claim. We've explored how cultural factors like high power distance, collectivism, and long-term orientation shape how Japanese professionals interpret performance systems. We've examined the failures of Western models in this context and proposed a detailed, research-informed alternative that reflects Japan's values while meeting modern business needs. The final system is built on 4 core features: structured coaching scripts, team-based OKRs, long-term development plans, and anonymous feedback tools. It is supported by technology, guided by emotional intelligence, and backed by a phased implementation roadmap. Together, these components offer a practical and respectful solution to a deeply human challenge: how to measure, guide, and grow performance in a way that works for both people and business. In the broader context of the 21st century workforce, this project reinforces a critical truth. Cultural alignment is not a soft issue, it's a strategic one. Companies that fail to adapt their systems to the local context risk disengagement, turnover, and underperformance. Those that invest in cultural intelligence, on the other hand, build stronger teams and more resilient organizations. Thank you for your time and attention in exploring how cultural intelligence can shape more inclusive and effective performance management systems.